family drama can be super tough. Okay. I mean, super tough because this is the people that the family you are born into. Like, you're supposed to be with them like forever. And it can be very challenging to navigate family drama. But today, I want to talk about it. Welcome back to another episode of the You, Me, and Jesus podcast. And today, we are going to have a conversation about dealing with family drama. Now, I'm going to say this, like, God ain't done with me. Okay. He is not through with me, which means that I am an imperfect Christian. Like everybody else. The same way you are imperfect is the same way I am imperfect. So as I share this with you, I need you to go, oh yeah, she is a human. And so I don't have all the answers, right? I do not have all the answers, but I do have experiences. I do have the 10 plus years of therapy that I've been in, all the books that I've read and in podcasts, and how I've done it right and how I've done it wrong. Okay. So I'm just prefacing that because I don't want you being like, okay. All right. So let's get into it. So nobody's family is perfect and nobody is perfect, right? Like me, I have so many imperfections, but I do my best, right? My family members they do their best and they have their imperfections, right? But because we are human beings with imperfections, there's only a matter of time before something transpires. Okay. So when I think about family drama, I feel like it's normal. It's natural. That's like when you get into a friendship. There's going to be times when you guys agree and disagree. When you get into a relationship with your significant other or you get married, same thing. When you have children or you have grandchildren, it's a natural thing that there's going to be some agreement and disagreement. It's just the nature of the beast as a result of living in this world with human beings. Okay. So what does it look like to navigate family drama? Okay. So here's how I look at it. Okay. First of all, it's really important that before we try to blame other people for stuff, that we really have to do an assessment of ourselves first. Okay. So before I will say anything about my mom, my dad, and all the different things and people, I have to first take a look at myself because it's very easy to say, well, they're doing this and they're doing that and it's so easy. And some of that could be true, but also some things could be happening within us. Okay. And before you try to tackle family drama or write people off or whatever, you've got to assess you and what's good and not so good with you. This is one of the reasons why we all need Jesus, right? We all need Jesus because we're imperfect and he's helping us with navigating ourselves. And this is why I believe that all of us need to be in therapy because we can only see what we can see, but it's until a mirror is put up to us that we can really see us, right? And it takes time for us to really see us, And so first things first, before you try to tackle family drama or call family drama, you've got to evaluate yourself. Okay. And what you're going to find out is that your poop stinks like everybody else's. It's just the fact. You're going to find your imperfections and theirs. And you're going to realize areas where you're right and areas where you're wrong and areas where you can mature, areas where you need to apologize, evolve, and all the type of stuff. Okay. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it's important to not put everybody in the same box. Okay. So if you've got 2 sisters, 3 brothers, mom, dad, stepmom, whatever, you cannot put everybody into the same box because these are individual people. Okay. And so if you're going to navigate any kind of tough situation with family, you've got to understand that you're having individual conversations with individuals, not you versus them or them versus you. Okay. Even though it may feel like you versus them or them versus you, you are still navigating individual conversations, individual people, relationships, and all that. Okay. Next, it's really important that you are taking a look at the truth, right? In terms of your truth, their truth, and then the whole truth. Okay. So I'll give you some examples. For example, let me just say like my grandpa, he's passed away. So I'll use him as an example. If I had a conflict with my grandpa because he promised to do X, Y, and Z and he didn't, right? And I said, he's always doing this. He never shows up, da, 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 da. It's easy for me to say he always does this, he never shows up, because in the moment I feel that way. But I have to also go, is this true? Is this because he's done it multiple times? Or does he do this all the time? If it's all the time, then it's all the time. If it's a few times, it's a few times, right? But if it's not all, we can't say all. Okay. And so that's important, because a lot of times we will magnify and exaggerate a situation or people or whatever because of the moment of what we're dealing with, mate. Right. But we have to figure out, what is the truth? Is it always? Is it sometimes? Is it whatever? You know what I'm saying? And so same thing that goes for, let's just say, like my grandma, she's passed away as well. My grandma, loved my grandma, but my grandma was a little bit complicated, right? She living at a home with my mom, who was extremely complicated. And I found myself to where I never would get a call from my grandma just to say hi, right? She would never call me just to say hi. And it took a long time for me to realize this, right? But eventually, after many, 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 many years, I started to go, when my phone rang and it was my grandma, I knew exactly why she was calling. And it was never to ask me how I'm doing. It was to ask me for money, right? And I just kept giving it to her. And I was frustrated, and I could get mad at her, but I could also go, what are you doing? Are you enabling this? Are you setting any boundaries? What is happening? I wasn't setting any boundaries. I didn't know any boundaries. I didn't know any better. I felt like I had to give because she was asking, because she was my grandma, right? It wasn't until I started doing a lot of work that I started to realize that what I want from her is to call me to see how I'm doing, and not to call me just because she needs money, right? And so I had to have a conversation with her. And I said, Grandma, I really want to spend time with you. I really want to talk to you. I want to develop our relationship, but I don't want the only time you call me is to be asking for money. All these years, you don't call me and ask me how I'm doing. You just call me and ask for money. And I don't want that to be the case anymore. So I would really appreciate it if the next time you call me is that you're calling me to see how I'm doing and not just calling me for money. Well, I didn't hear from my grandma for 3 years. 3 years. And the only reason why I heard from her, because I reached out to her, right? But what was that? I had to evaluate me. I had to evaluate her. I had to evaluate the situation. And then I had to understand that I needed to set some type of boundary or something in place, that gave me what I wanted, or not at all, or tell her what was going on, right? Sounds kind of crazy, but that's what my reality was, right? But also I've had instances with, like, let's just say my dad, right? And growing up, I was with my mom. My mom has a lot of mental illness, and how chaotic it was with her was chaotic with him. So I think it caused him to just go, it's easier if I just pay child support and not be present. I think that was his way of dealing with things. I guess. I don't really know 100%, but that's my guess. And so then from there, as I got into adulthood, it became, I think I started reaching out to him only when I needed money, not to see how he was doing or whatever. And then he got remarried and he adopted his ex-wife's kids, and I would see him being fully present with them. But I found myself being like, I only hear from him during the holiday or birthday, not to actually see how I'm doing. And so I got frustrated, and I would say things to him, right? But it wasn't until Holy Spirit convicted me and was just like, so let's talk about you and your dad. What's going on with you and your dad? And I'm just venting, telling God all about all this stuff. And God said, you actually owe him $1,800. I'm sorry, what? You owe him $1,800. You borrowed this money from him and you never paid it back. And the only reason why you reach out to him is for money. And so now that you don't need any money from him, you're not reaching out to him. The same way your mom's situation. So I had to own up to my own stuff first. So I was saying what I was saying about him. And the Holy Spirit was like, actually, that is true, but so is this. You owe him some money. I need you to write him a letter and send him a check. I wrote a check for $1,800, and I apologized to him, and I was just like, I realize that the only reason why I reach out to you is for money. I didn't know that I was doing it, but now I am aware of it, and I owe you $1,800, and sent it to him. Got a call from him, and he was just like, oh my God, I actually needed that money, so on and so on, whatever, and whatever. So eventually we're having conversations, and I also share with him how I'm feeling, like the positive and negatives or whatever. And I started to learn in therapy, don't bring up all the past, bring up the present, right? And so finally I had a conversation with him. It was just like, Dad, this is how I feel. I don't feel like you reach out to me to see how I'm doing. I feel like you call me to dump on me, but you just don't really, whatever. And he didn't like it and he was upset, whatever. And I had to go, but this is how I feel. This is the text message you sent me. And this is how I felt receiving that message from you. And he didn't like it, whatever. But I had to make a really, really hard decision. I had to go, am I going to take it, what I get from him and say, this is good enough? Or am I going to set a boundary and say, if you can't A, B, and C, I can't talk to you? Or do I just stop talking to him? Right? And so I kept trying to set the boundary and it wouldn't go well. So finally I said, I'm not going to respond to him anymore. If he reaches out, I'm just not going to respond. I'm just not, because it's not going anywhere. It's not going where I want it to go, like in terms of like real communication. And I decided that instead of me just arguing and like putting venom out there, it was just like, let me just stop communication until this person says, hey, I noticed that I reach out to you and you never respond back. What is the reason why you're not responding back? And then I can say to them, do you really want to know? And if they say yes, he says yes, then I can share, here is why I have not responded to you, right? And so I've learned that navigating family drama, that one of the ways to manage family drama is to first deal with ourselves, right? What's going on with us? What are we doing? How are we behaving? Well, all that type of stuff first, right? Then consult with the Holy Spirit. Let the Holy Spirit like really illuminate what's going on with you, them, the whole situation, right? And let the Holy Spirit do what it does. He does. Then when the time comes, then you go to the family member and you try to resolve things. And if it doesn't resolve, then you got to choose some different things, right? So I have my sister who I was closest to, and I kept trying to resolve things over and over and over again. And things just weren't going the way that I wanted them to go. I just wasn't getting any resolve. And so finally I was just like, this is not going anywhere. And it's hurting me more than it's helping me. So I'm like, I'm just not going to talk to her anymore. Right. And eventually, years later, she had this awakening. That's just like, oh my God, I realized that you don't want anything from me. You just want me to want to know how you're doing. You want me to be a present sister. You want me to just ask you how you're doing and care about how you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want you to give me anything. I don't want anything from you. I want you to treat me like how I treat you, which is with kindness. I check on you, I this and that. You don't ask for anything, but or whatever, you know? And so I'm learning that like sometimes your silence, it tells a story, right? Sometimes people could care less that you're silent, right? And that's okay. But I've learned that arguing and the fighting doesn't help. Like all that back, none of that helps. It just makes things worse. And God isn't in it. And so there's no resolve. And so I would say to you that if you are finding yourself navigating tough situations with your family members, that one of the first things you got to do is evaluate you, right? And it's hard to assess you and see where you fit, especially when somebody is doing something else too. You just want to focus on them. But the truth is we got to look at us first because we're part of the equation as well. And then, and so I tell people that go see a therapist and let the therapist walk you through you and let them honestly give you feedback and let them guide you, because otherwise you're just venting to someone who isn't actually helping you. But if you give yourself a benefit of a professional actually helping you, then you will see how you can manage yourself and then eventually be able to navigate the other relationships. Because whether this is going to be conflict with family members, conflict with your spouse or people or your boss or your employees, whatever, you still got to learn how to navigate it, right? And you got to learn how to navigate it well, okay? So I'm curious, if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast, come on YouTube under You, Me, and Jesus. And thank you guys so much for listening and watching.